pretty much everything I went over in class. Okay, so let's go back up to the screen here. And also, as you can see in the attachment, there are some practice questions, which I recommend you take a look at. Let me know if there's any issues, and you should be just fine for the test tomorrow. Okay. Okay, let's conclude the chapter. Again, looking back up, the elementary was added on to the middle school in 1990. And as I had mentioned, that was very controversial. Where were the four elementary schools? Everybody look at the screen here. Stay with me. Where were the four elementaries that were closed? Give me one. Gratz. Gabriel, another one. Brock. And Ava. Likens, yes. And those were the four elementaries that were closed down. And yes, Brock, several of your family attended that school in Elizabethville. I guess Mom would have gone to the one over in Gratz. Does that sound right? Yeah, I think so. Ava, your dad and uncles attended the Elizabethville Elementary also. True story. Anybody after that went to this school. And of course, here's where the Hollywood movie theater was. I'd mentioned that. And again, don't want to go through all the details again, but I still think it's a pretty cool place. I had a student say, "Wish we'd have a movie theater around here." After all that, we do have one in Millersburg. Don't forget. Have you been there? You guys are looking like I have blank looks. Have you been to the one in Millersburg? Yeah. Okay. And of course, down the street, this is where the Kisses was located, as we just read the article. And that was a hangout place. In the bottom, they lived upstairs. And afterwards, that was the post office. Okay, as I'd mentioned. There's the grad school. Okay, last part of this unit, this chapter. Professional athletes to graduate from UDA. I do want to mention Randy Martz. By no means do I want you to write down all the details here about him. I'm not going to test you on all that. But Randy Martz did graduate from Upper Dolphin, and he did pitch for the Chicago Cubs. That I do want you to know. And that was a question on the handout, so you might be familiar. Okay, Randy Martz pitched for the Chicago Cubs. Tell you a quick story with this. 1980 was when he was called up to the Chicago Cubs. Now, if you're not familiar, there are several minor league divisions. There's the rookie league, there's single A, double A, triple A, and he got called up in 1980, which telling you how old I am. I do remember 1980 well. I remember that was the year the Phillies won the World Series, the first one ever for the World Series. And he was called up, and he actually pitched against the Phillies that year. That was actually in October. No, it was late September. And I remember the game. And there was a guy actually that came to our house who said he was driving through Elizabethville, and everybody, if they had their drapes open, everybody's TV had Randy Martz pitching against the Phillies because obviously he was a hometown, athlete. He pitched 7 innings, allowed no runs in 7 innings, but they took him out of the game. He ended up with no decisions, and the Phillies did win the game. But that was what I remember as one of his best games. But he did pitch against the eventual world champions that year. It's pretty cool. Okay, but that's Randy Martz. Again, not going to go through all the details. I do remember opening packs of baseball cards. You'd find his card in there. That was pretty cool when you did that. Obviously, a lot of information there about him. I think by about 1983, he was done in the majors, and now he is a coach. I'll show you that in the next slide. Okay. But certainly pretty cool from Elizabethville, Upper Dauphin area graduate. He was also quarterback on the football team. Okay, Steve Rocap, another name, another UDA name. That would be Aiden Rocap's uncle. Okay, his dad's brother. Played in the major leagues also. Graduated back in 1978. He actually went on to Now he's actually more of a manager coach. Well, not more of, he is. Okay. And I'm not sure where he's at. Brock, do you have any idea? Okay. I have it up here as of, that was a few years ago. As of today, he's working for the Cincinnati Reds, but I don't know if that's still the case. Anyway, I'll just go back to this. Farm system. He never actually made it to the major leagues. He stayed in the professional leagues, but never actually was called up. Anyway, Steve Rocap, pretty cool. Brad Hassinger from Barrysburg. He never actually made it higher than AA, although still certainly phenomenal accomplishment. He did pitch in the minor leagues. Lived right across the street from Sciano's there on the corner. And does anybody play baseball besides Brock, of course? Does anybody know what happens if you bunt the ball and it goes foul with 2 strikes? Anybody other than Brock? What happens? Peyton? You're out. Well, Brock, I'm sure you've heard this story 700 times from Coach Klinger. The 1986 district championship game. Does it sound familiar, Brock, already? Brad Hassinger was up the bat. He was the best hitter in the league by far that year. Bases loaded, no outs. You got the best hitter in the league up. The bases loaded. Score was tied. Coach had him bunt. And I'm laughing because Brock's heard this story, and I'm sure every time you hear this story, the pitch gets higher and higher, right? It was not that high. But obviously, the runner from third's trying to score, okay, suicide squeeze, and you have to get the bat on the ball. There's no 2 ways about it. Well, the pitch was a little high. I'll give him that. It was not up at his eyes, though. I was at the game. I remember it actually very well. He was able to get the bunt down, the run scored, and we won the district championship that year. Brock, anything you want to throw in from that story? Did I hit it about right? Yeah. But Coach Klinger will tell you that, it was a great call, and it worked. But obviously it's one of those calls that, well, that was a gutsy call if it works, but then if it doesn't work, then you say, what were you thinking? But obviously the joys of being a coach, which I used to do, and believe me, sometimes you wonder yourself, did I do the right thing or not? Was it gutsy or was it just not something we should have done? In that case, it worked. Anyway, on we go. Jeff Ewer, he played in the majors also. Certainly worthy of mention about Jeff Ewer. He was a 2-time state wrestling champion here. And what I can tell you, I remember him starting the legacy of state contenders, state champions at Upper Dauphin area. He didn't pitch. He was a catcher for the Ogden Raptors. Now, again, he was a wrestler. I always thought about that. See, at the time, you didn't have to slide into home plate. I don't think you do. I think you have to now. Is that right, Brock? Well, at that time, you didn't. And what runners would do is try to knock the ball out of the catcher's glove. Well, I just thought about that. Some guy coming and trying to plow into him, he might end up like running into a brick wall. But anyway, but he's no longer in the majors now. He did play for the York Revolution, though. Certainly worthy of mention. Okay, Carl Scheib, we will definitely talk a lot more about him when we get to the chapter on Gratz. Some of you, I'm sure, played on Scheib Field. You know what that's all about. Again, don't write down all the information. We'll talk about this, but certainly worthy of mention. For a while, he was the youngest player in Major League Baseball for a long time. By far. Where are my Gratz people at? What's the place across side of where the pizza shop used to be that sits back in, and then the place on the other side of the alley? Is that a private residence now? It used to be a store, and you could tell how big it is. Do you know, Terrence? I'm not either. But it used to be called a trading post. and they sold candy there. And what happened here, and why I'm telling you that story, a candy salesman from Philadelphia delivered candy to the store and heard about this kid who was 15 years old and how hard he could throw and things like that. And he was a friend of the Philadelphia athletics manager, Connie Mack. And he told Connie Mack about this kid, and Connie Mack said, "Well, if he can get down here, I'll give him a tryout." And he did. And threw the ball very hard, but Connie Mack told him to go back to school, stay in school one more year, and then come back. And he did. And he went on to pitch for the Philadelphia, at that time, it was the Philadelphia Athletics. I'll just point out here, notice his playing career was 1943 to 45, and then it was about a 2-year layoff, and then came back from 47 to 54. Does anybody want to take a shot at why there was a break in his career there? Something was going on at the time. Something really big was going on at the time. Something really, 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 really big was going on at the time. Brock, tell us. World War II. He was actually drafted and he went and fought in the war. Okay? He went and fought in World War II. And that's why, if you've ever seen the movie A League of Their Own, there were not a whole lot of men around. They were all fighting in the war, and that's why you had the Women's League. Okay, not to get too far off subject, but that's what happened with the Steelers and the Eagles. They put a team together called the Steagles, so they actually had enough guys to have a team, and that's why it was called that, the Steagles. Okay, on we go. State champions. Certainly, archery seems to be good every year, and Brendan Miller won the 3200 state champion. I think that was 2019. Not exactly 100% sure, but nonetheless. Of course, several years ago already, it seems, wow, 4 years ago, I guess it's been, the girls softball team were state champions. That was 2018. No, it's hard to see that picture there on the bottom right, but that's up at State College. You can see the Nittany Lion statue. We got their pictures taken there. If I remember right, the score was 2-0. This is not state champions. I just threw some pictures in here. This was 1989. And I don't know, is Mrs. Leitzel still up at the elementary school? Does anybody know? Brenda? Doesn't ring a bell. She's been gone that long. Well, that's her on the right. Okay. If you know Jared Klinger, that's their dad's brother. It looks just like Troy, if you ask me. How about the Barges, Peyton and Carson? Yeah, that's their mom right here. That's Missy. I know. I'm sorry. That's their mom, Heather, and Missy Wise. What was his name? Anybody remember? Casey. That's Casey's mom. Just showing you a couple there. I guess a lot of their kids are long gone. I could tell you a lot of stories about a lot of them. Oh, here you go. Darla, that's just I can't say his name. Help me out, Brock. The running back. Yeah, Christian. Yeah, that's Christian's grandmother. Okay, the school is torn down, and that's the original elementary, or I'm sorry, the original Elizabethville High School, which was then used as an elementary building. And certainly important to mention the wrestling team, a successful program as well. Band, another program, which we can all relate to. This is the video we watched on Coach Shadle. Some pictures there. And certainly important to mention, he was a long time coach here at Upper Dauphin, coached both boys and girls, and certainly missed. Just passed away this past fall. Well, no, it would have been the last spring, actually. Okay, this has nothing to do with Upper Dauphin area, Elizabethville, Upper Dauphin joint. Anybody know where Hubley Township is by any chance? And you don't have to write this down at all. Terrence, you're my best bet here. You know where it is. It's not too far from Rumstown. Hubley Township is one of the townships that makes up Tri-Valley. And I put this in there because I thought it was kind of cute. Hubley High actually had its own school until 1965, and in 65, that's when Tri-Valley was created, as I'd mentioned before. Well, Hubley High, again, had its own high school. And at that time, the student body, their fight song, their chant, whatever you want to call it, was Hubley High, purple and white, their colors. These are the colors in which we fight. Now, this is back in the 1960s, 1950s, and we're going to go up the Tri-Valley. I can guarantee you a lot of the people living in the Tri-Valley area would be of Dutch descent, just like many of you are in this room. I have no problem with it, myself included. Now, imagine the student body saying that with a Dutch accent. A little bit of a raspy throat today, but I'll try to let my Dutch accent shine through. So Hubley High, purple and white, these are the colors in which we fight. It'd probably be something more like, Hubley High, purple and white, these are the colors in which we fight. Now voiced. Brock, don't tell me you can't relate to that. Okay, that's your answer to the one question on the scavenger hunt. I had a lot of questions about that. You get the idea. Mr. Marr has retired, so I updated it over there on the right. Mrs. Dedlinger certainly belongs up there. She was actually up at the elementary school for a while before she came here. So, but that's the answer. No big deal. And as I said, that's just a completion grade. Okay? But no, Mrs. Gehring was here before Mr. Gehring. Just pointing that out there. Okay? And the alumni, there are a lot of us here. I'll just point out Mrs. Shade, a longtime secretary, she's not here. Mrs. Lumble was the Spanish teacher. And there's one other one up there. Oh, Mrs. Schwalm, she's no longer in the cafeteria. But a lot of alumni still here. And that ends the chapter. Okay? Okay. Go ahead and take a look at the paper I gave you at the beginning of the period real quick. We only have a few minutes. Collaborate there. Ask each other what questions you have. If there's anything on there real quick. And also there are practice questions that I attached. Okay, take a look at that. Didn't give you a whole lot of time there, but see what you can do with it. Ask the person beside you, that's fine. Is there anything you don't know? Ask. Try to look over the questions real quick, see if there's anything. We can also go over it together if you want. If you look over this and know it, you'll be just fine tomorrow. Let's get down there to underneath number 5 real quick. Gordon Foster. I didn't really emphasize him. I was going to say more for the class on Elizabethville. Anybody know Gordon Foster? What was a question on the scavenger hunt, though? And Coach Hayden mentioned him in the video.
Former Upper Dauphin basketball coach.
Yep.
Named the gym after him.
Yep, the gym's named for him. Basketball coach. Also, longtime history teacher. Taught in this very room, actually. Anything else on there? Don't hesitate to ask. Question? Good? Okay. Don't forget there is a back to it also.